So please welcome up Peter Aguero, the New York Moth Grand Slam champion.
All right. This is that voice Michael was promising you earlier. Thank you for sticking around to listen to it. When I was 12 years old, Nellie's Pond froze for the first time since my mom was a little girl. I grew up in a little small town called Delanco, New Jersey. It's down by Philadelphia. We had about 2,500 people. It was all farms. It was a good place to grow up. Not a good place to grow up was my house. And so on this Saturday afternoon, all I wanted to do was go ride my bike on the ice at Nellie's Pond. But not just to do that, but also to get the hell out of my house. I'm walking out through the living room. My dad's laying on the floor on his side, chain smoking Marlboro Reds and watching college football. My mom is crimping my sister's hair because it's 1991, and that's what you do. And she's saying to my sister, my mother's of the opinion that my sister's hair is, quote, a rat's nest. My sister's of the opinion, quote, I hate you. So that's just going back and forth. So I'm just trying to get away from these people. So I walk past them, I go out to the garage, I get my bike, and I ride the 10 minutes over to Nellie's Pond. I push my bike through the little sliver of woods, and there it is. Nellie's Pond's about the size of maybe 2 football fields. In the middle, there's a bunch of kids in town that are playing ice hockey. There's a street hockey league in town, but this day they get to play on the ice, so they're going and doing that. I didn't play hockey when I was a kid because there was so much equipment. It's very expensive. During the winter, I played basketball because all you needed was a basketball. So I get out on the ice, and the kids are playing, and I'm not playing hockey. I'm just riding my bike around the perimeter of the game, listening to the crunch of my tires on that little lacy layer of snow that forms on top of the ice. And I'm just going around and really kind of noticing Nellie's Pond from a different vantage point than I'd ever seen it before. Because you can't swim in Nellie's Pond. It's the reason why it also hasn't frozen in so many years. There's the next town over has some sort of industrial plant that vents some kind of bright green smoking liquid into Nellie's Pond. So you can't swim in it. So I'd never seen Nellie's Pond from this angle before. It was fascinating. I'm to the side of the hockey game, and I'm looking up through the denuded branches of the trees, and it looks up at the sky, and it looks a lot like wooden stained glass. And I'm just looking about how beautiful that is when all of a sudden my hat is ripped off of my head and it's thrown up into the trees in front of me. It's my favorite hat. It's a green and gray knit Philadelphia Eagles hat with a pom-pom on top of it, and it's very warm, and I love this hat. And now it's up in the tree. I hear laughter. I look behind me, and there's Eric. And Eric is he's one of those kids that's he's got a big pumpkin head, and his hair is too blonde. You know those people? There's just, you know what I mean? He's a perfect henchman, and so I hear in front of me his boss. I turn around, there he is, Mike Dawes. Now Mike Dawes has his knees clamped on my front tire and his hands on my handlebars, and he's screaming in my face. He's like, what are you gonna do about your hat, pussy? I'll kick your ass, pussy. Come on, pussy, I'll kick your ass. And he just keeps going. He's trying to goad me into a fight. Now, the thing is, he's bigger than me. I was once a normal-sized person, especially at 12 years old. I hadn't quite grown into my size yet. And so he's, a year older than me, stocky kid. He's got a flat-top haircut, these kind of like puffy, weird eyes, and braces. He looks like a pig fucked a lawnmower, and he's just screaming in my face. He's like, come on, pussy, I'll kick your ass. What are you doing? And the hockey game stops, and all the kids are looking over, and the 3 or 4 dads in the corner drinking coffee are looking over, like, thank God it's not my son. And then I'm just standing there, just taking it. And I never felt, I don't like the fight. I don't like the feeling of it. I don't like the violence. I don't like how I feel after. I don't know about you, but every time I've ever been in a fight in my life, afterwards I've cried. I don't like that feeling. I didn't want this today. I don't know what this kid was trying to get from me. I don't know why he picked me out of everybody else, but he did. And he succeeded in what he wanted to do and made me feel like less than nothing. Absolutely nothing. I was underneath the ice all by myself. And it kept going and it kept going until eventually he just, I guess he gave up, and he clamped his knees really hard on the tire, and he turned my handlebars so they were parallel with the tire, and then he walked away. And I'm left there by myself, and the hockey game goes on, and the dads go on drinking their coffee. I leave my hat for dead, and I push my bike out to the street through the little sliver of woods, and I try to bend my handlebars back, but I can't get it quite right. I ride a couple minutes home. I put my bike in the garage. I go past my family. I go upstairs. I turn the light off in my room. I put my pillow on my face because I don't want to talk to anybody. A couple minutes later, I hear footsteps coming upstairs. My dad sits on the foot of my bed, and he says, "What's the matter, pal?" And I say, "Nothing." He lifts the pillow. "What's the matter, pal?" And I put the pillow back. I say, "Nothing." He takes the pillow, he throws it across the room. He says, "What's the matter?" And I tell him, I say, "Mike Dawes." He goes, "That kid's a prick." And I said, "Yeah." And I tell him what happened. He nods his head. He says, "Okay, come with me." And I follow my dad downstairs where the phone is. We had a rotary phone. He picks up the phone book, looks up D for Dawes, dials 6 of the numbers, dials the 7th number, hands me the receiver. He says, "You're going to call him and tell him you're going to fight him tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and let's go with the fucking thing." And now it's ringing. Now it's ringing in my ear. This woman answers the phone. I say, "How can I talk to Mike?" She says, "Who's this?" Tell him it's Pete. She says, "Okay." I hear her walk away. I hear him walk to the phone. He says, "What do you want, pussy?" I say, "Hey, Mike, I want to fight you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. He says, "Okay, I'll kick your ass tomorrow." I say, "Thanks, Mike. I'll see you at Nellie's Pond." And I hang up the phone. My dad nods his head, and he goes, "Okay, come with me." We walk past my mom and my sister, and we go out to the garage. And my dad starts to show me how to fight. He says, "Okay, you're right-handed, so you're going to stand like this, lead with your left. You're going to jab to get space. You're going to, throw your right when you have the strength and the space to be able to do it." And he starts to show me all these things. He's holding his hands. I'm punching his hands. My dad grew up in Philadelphia. He went to Vietnam. He was in street gangs when he was a kid. He didn't understand the kind of son that I was. I was the kind of kid that liked to make things out of construction paper and skip stones down by the river. Put on music and dance around in my room. He didn't understand that kind of kid, but I could understand that what he was trying to do in this moment was trying to turn me into the kind of kid that he could understand. And while I knew that it wasn't who I was, I guess I just wanted to do this for him, so I just went along with it. So we were out there for hours, and then he shows me what he learned in Philadelphia. There's just one move, just grab, clench, and twist. That's it, really simple. So after we're out in this cold garage and the steam is rising off me, he pats me on the back. He says, "All right, son, you're going to do fine." So we go back inside, we have dinner, and then it's time to go to bed. I can't get to sleep because I have a scheduled fight tomorrow, like I'm fucking George Foreman, and I can't wrap my mind around that idea. I finally do wake up the next morning. It's time to go to church, and we all get all churched up. We go to church, and then there's church. Afterwards, I go to light a candle, not one of those little quarter candles, but the big dollar candle. Because I need a little extra help. I go over, I kneel down, say Hail Mary and Our Father, and like a remix from me to Jesus. I'm like, "Buddy, you got to help me out. Just make sure everything's going to be okay. In your name, fucking come on." And then we go home. My mom makes pancakes, and they're delicious. So then afterwards, after we eat these pancakes, it's getting to be about 2:30. It's time for me to go. So I go over to the closet. I get my lighter winter jacket, so I have more movement. I get my second favorite hat. It's red. And I go back out to the garage. I get my bike, and I ride the 10 minutes over to Nellie's Pond, push my bike through the little sliver of woods out to the middle of the ice. There's a league street hockey game that day, so I have the pond all to myself. And I'm standing there right in the middle at 3 o'clock looking up at the sky. And it's one of those slate gray winter skies that looks like you can reach up and grab a piece and you can put it and stick it in your pocket. It's one of those slate gray winter skies that just looks thick like soup. It's one of those slate gray winter skies that's so quiet that it's roaring in its silence. So there I am all by myself, just me in the middle of the pond, just me and the quiet roaring sky. 3:05, I put my bike down. 3:10, I start to bounce on my feet a little to keep warm. At 3:15, across the way, I see some rustles in the bushes, and I stand up. There's nothing, must be a dog or a squirrel or something. 3:20, 3:25. At 3:27, I go get a branch from the deadfall over on the corner, and I start throwing it up my hat. And on the fourth try, my hat falls down into my hand. I take the red one out, put it in my pocket, put my Eagles hat back on. And at 3:35, I push my bike through the sliver of woods, and I take the long way home. And I go down by the river, and I sit there for a second and let that unspent adrenaline, that poison, leak out of my body, and it just shakes, and it feels like poison. It feels terrible. So I get home, and I put my bike in the garage, And I walk past my family. My mom's combing out my sister's crimps, rat's nest. I hate you. My dad's laying there watching NFL football. And I go upstairs and I lay down and I turn off the light and I put the pillow on my face because I don't want to talk to anybody. Years and years and years passed. I ended up going to high school with that kid, Mike, and he never bothered me again. He never talked to me, looked at me, and that was pretty great. But by that time, I'd started to become a giant person. So like that was what was going to happen. That's what happens with bullies anyway. When I had turned 21, I hadn't spoken to my father in a bunch of years, but I was sitting in a bar with him, drinking beer and eating chicken wings, because that's what you do when you turn 21. You sit in a bar with your dad and you drink beer and eat chicken wings. That's what you do. And we're just talking. I'm telling him about college. I'm telling him about this, and we're catching each other up. And he's telling me about his wife. He divorced my mom, and he married this other woman. We're catching up with each other. I don't really care. But then he says, you know who I saw the other day? I say, who? He says, you never guess. I'm like, fucking tell me. And he says, I saw Mike Dawes over the ShopRite. I was like, yeah, that kid's a prick. He says, yeah, he is. He says, you remember when you went to go fight him in Nellie's Pond that day, all those years ago? I said, yeah, I do remember that. He says, you know, after you left the house, I followed around. I went around the long way, and I hid in the bushes across the pond. And I watched you out there, and I knew you were scared. And I saw you out there by yourself, and I saw you waiting for him. And I knew you were scared, and you stayed there anyway. And I'd never been more proud of you than I was in that moment. Thank you very much.